Is this so? Here he is.
I'm definitely here. Hey everyone, how's it going? Oh, I love an audience that talks back. I didn't take my ADHD medication today, so this is going to be interesting, okay? And so you have to tell me to shut the fuck up if I go on too long, okay? Please. That's a picture of me. I'm Paul. I'm a ECD. Thank you, whoever wolf whistles. Love you. Come find me after. I am single. I will give you my number. I'm going to carry on. This is the title of my talk. My pain is chronic, but my ass is iconic. Thank you. I have many chronic conditions, which we will get into this evening. The worst one is chronic oversharing. So we're going to go high, we're going to go low, we're going to go deep. There are some truths about me in here that maybe people would never normally. Thank you so much for taking pictures of this. So this is the one I'll put. This is the one I'll put on LinkedIn. I think. Yeah. For sure. This is the reason why no agency will hire me at the moment. So, this is my humble brag slide. I was ECD at Deliveroo, Google. I've run lots of in-house teams. I've just been at an agency called That Lot. But I started life as a television writer and theatre writer. But I am an imposter. I'm a criminal. Arrest me. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because we're in this, I suppose the industry is in this state, right, where when the industry is scared, it defaults to same. And, I watch this all the time. And, I sat in rooms with clients and, feels like what we're talking about is distinction at the moment and all of that sort of thing. AI has also brought up this conversation in a very acute way because of the way that production processes are working and blah, blah, blah. Everything looks the same. And I have just spent the last sort of 18 months at a social agency where, the majority of asks from clients have been, could we just hop on this trend? And then, I send off a little team and they go and, film something in the Liverpool Street station and come back and, it goes viral or something. And they go, oh, wow, it's so successful. And I'm like, oh, damn, that's not really how to do great social. But, we do it anyway. So we see it in the work, and we're all witnessing it, right? We all see like the work kind of becoming the same a lot of the time. It's happened in things like architecture and interior design. I could be in any city in the world, Hong Kong, New York, whatever, and I would still find a minimalist coffee shop that's completely white, named after a Greek philosopher. In any city, honestly. And I was in Hong Kong, and I did sit in one of those coffee shops. But of course, the same thing happens with talent. And it's really funny because I was reflecting on the fact that we've had all these kind of reckonings in society, thinking about the Me Too movement and George Floyd and all of this. And where we've kind of ended up is in the same place. Like, Trump is in the White House, the state of the world is kind of determined by this orange man. I was going to call him a white man, but he's kind of orange, isn't he? This kind of orange man pretending that he didn't have any affiliation with a paedophile, and that we're all kind of made to suffer for that, the fact that he can't tell the truth about that. Sorry, I won't get too political. I definitely won't go off on that tangent. That's not one for tonight. But come find me after, and I will tell you everything I feel about it. But why that's relevant, I think, for us is that we also have ended up with leadership in agencies and in brands too, where it's still not very diverse, honestly. That's the truth. Thank you. Yes, that does deserve applause. And the reason why that's disappointing to me is when an ECD is hiring creative teams, we are often asked to hire the same. Like a CEO will come to me and we've got a big pitch on or whatever it is, and I'll say, Paul, we really need a safe pair of hands. And so, the same talent comes through the doors, the same talent works on these pitches, and the same talent inevitably delivers kind of the same ideas. And I think that is inherently wrong in how that we're sort of recruiting and hiring into our teams. And so I tell the stories that I'm going to tell tonight on the basis that I want to re-inject some of you into why you are great. And, do I believe imposter syndrome exists? Of course it does. But do I think it's a guiding energy for what makes great creatives? Absolutely I do. It is such a display of empathy and self-awareness that is so lacking from lots of creatives in creative departments. And I think we should own that. So I'm going to talk about that. Basically, I'm going to talk about me for 15 minutes. Starting with this. This is how I introduce myself, which is, that lot was owned by, oh God, this is being filmed, isn't it, as well? I can't take names. I can't do names because otherwise I'll get sued or something. It'll be awful. I don't take myself too seriously. I like to foster a great creative culture. I mostly just want people to be open. So when I go into teams and things like this is often the first slide I present because I just want them to know that they can be silly. Ultimately, what we do isn't serious. No one dies until they do. But I'll get to that. But what sits behind this, as what sits behind, lots of us really sat in this room, is a backstory, a bunch of things that we've been through in our lives that, when we get into corporate culture, we often have to repress in order to fit in. And I told you we're going to go deep. I'll go through this. I didn't go to university. I have ADHD. Shout out to my unmedicated girlies. Became disabled, grew up on a council estate, chaotic, accidentally became ECD, all those things that sit behind us. These are the things that we need to start to own if we're going to own our story. And I guess this word comes up a lot. We're in this huge change state in the industry. And oh, wait a minute, I went too far. Does that work? No. Wait. Oh God. No. It's meant to oh, there we go. I actually didn't know that was it. Someone designed this slide for me, and it just sort of faded in. Because the most important thing that you need to see tonight are the things fading into the things. But it's just great design, Believe me, those happy. You'll be grateful for those happy faces and those smiley faces in a minute. I'm gonna blow my nose as well. That's great. Oh my God. I haven't done this in a little while, so I'm slightly rusty at standing up in front of big rooms of people. Okay, resilience. Really important. Our sense of resilience is broken by the fact that we often don't own our own stories. And so what I kind of want to do right now is I kind of want to go through 3 things that have happened to me in my life and my career that I suppose have made me feel like I don't belong, or that I don't, that I don't belong in this industry. And I guess the people that have helped me overcome that in varying ways. So, first one, this one. I didn't go to university. I don't have A-levels. I don't have a degree. Lots of reasons because of that. But when I was creative director at Google for about 5 years, very interesting place to be creative director. On my first day at Google, we were having lunch with kind of a broader team. And not out of malice or anything like that. Someone said they were talking about university, and we're going round, and someone asked someone, what college did you go to at Cambridge? I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to talk about university. I obviously didn't go to university, and I don't know. There was this offhand comment that someone made, which sticks in my mind, which is if you didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge, you don't really deserve to work at Google. You shouldn't really be here. And most people that do work at Google, they're lovely people, by the way, but lots of them did go to very top tier universities, they're full of very, very smart people. That really triggered me. And I suddenly became very aware that I didn't really belong in this environment, and I didn't have the CV that lots of these people had, and I definitely didn't have the education that lots of these people had. So I needed to try really, really hard to be like them, which is quite hard when you're the only creative in a team of 150 marketers. 150 very smart marketers, I might add. And about 4 months into the job, Nish, my boss, kind of called me into a room, and she was like, it's the kind of how are you doing, chat? How's it going? I was like, how do you think it's going? And she said, yeah, not very well. And she started to explain to me that really that she has a shit ton of marketers out in the thing. She doesn't need any of them. She didn't hire me for that. She didn't hire me for any of that reason. She was like, they'll run the work, they'll do the strategy, they'll do the thing. I hired you because you're silly, because you're gay. She didn't say that, but she hired me because she wanted the tonality. The whole brief at Google was to try and make it entertaining, make it funny, make it resonant with culture, all these things that I can do. And I dismissed all of that to try and be like everyone else and fit in. And, after that moment, she opened this door that was locked for me, and I gave me permission to just be me, unapologetically. Did people think I was weird? Yes. But did I make the best work I've ever made in my career? I absolutely did during that time. And we made some very awesome stuff, documentaries and game shows and all of those things. And just that person calling me into a room and saying, you don't have to be like that, was so revelatory to me. It was an incredible experience. So if anyone gets to work with Nish, I don't know what she's doing at the minute, but she's fantastic, fantastic boss. Love her to pieces. Okay. You can laugh at this next slide, by the way. Just look at the GIF. Look at the GIF that was paired with this text. Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, it gets mixed reactions every time I do it, This never really factored into my, even thinking about how I might even, attach this to my thing. But I didn't have a great childhood, which, lots of people don't, and for varying reasons. And, the person we become often, we get fucked up by our parents and all the things. I won't quote the Auden or whoever did that thing. And I really didn't, it just didn't come into my career at all, this kind of thought or where I'd come from. But I was sat listening to Liz Taylor, who's Global Chief Creative Officer at Ogilvy, fantastic, fantastic woman. And she was on stage with a exec coach and talking about her childhood, which was equally as violent. Her dad, though, had a gun, and it was really, really dark where she'd kind of got to. But she sort of had this big realization on stage, and she said something along the lines of, when your childhood is full of violence, we subconsciously connect ourselves to those who bring us joy and energy. And oh my God, when someone says something or does something and then you just sit crying at the back because it just completely resonates with you in your heart. Oh my Lord. I was at this very serious marketing conference with a lot of other CCOs and ECDs, and there was just me at the back sobbing away. And when you're sobbing so hard, everyone can hear it, that kind of thing. I had to leave the room. It wasn't good. But there was this sort of realization, I suppose, that maybe the reason I love running creative departments and I start doing that is that I'm so attracted to play because I never got it as a kid. And it was such an amazing realization again as a creative to go, oh, I am here because I get to play. How incredible is that? We all get to play in our jobs, and we all do that in our thing. And it just connected lots of dots in my head, which sort of go, okay, actually, I do belong here. I do have a purpose here, and I do something. Okay, that's it. One more deep one, and then we can go back to laughing about shit. Okay, I'm gonna blow my nose again, just while you watch this slide. I burned out and became disabled. So I have my little trusty walking stick, which helps me get around. I should name it or something. Lots of my friends actually say, Paul, why don't you get a gold one or a glitter one or something? And I'm like, the last thing I want is for people to actually see the walking stick. That's the last thing. When I was at Google, actually, toward the end of my time at Google, I got really burnt out. I was working stupid hours. I was sat down a lot, doing just silly hours. And I ended up developing 5 blood clots in my leg and 1 in each lung, and turned up to hospital when I had... I should also say that I ignored this pain for about 3 weeks because I'm a man. Even gay men get to kind of claim the sort of the male status at some point. I turned up and they said, the doctor said to me, if you'd come 12 hours later, you'd be dead. Really quite a hard-hitting punch in the face, that, when a doctor tells you that. And losing your mobility at the age of 27, especially when you like to go out dancing and raving on the weekends, is quite an adjustment, a huge adjustment, and a huge kind of reckoning with yourself, which is, very hard to compute. I've got there now, finally, thank God. But, it's a process. People see you differently. You're perceived for the first time. It is all these things that start to happen. And when I was thinking about going back to work after, quite a lengthy time off and thinking about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be, I suddenly had to kind of re-evaluate everything again. And I was really mentally drained by the whole experience. And I was talking with Sinead Burke. I don't know if anyone knows Sinead Burke, but Sinead used to be one of the associate editors of British Vogue. Incredible speaker, has incredible TED Talks. Sinead is a little person, so has been through the gamut of being perceived and what disability is like. And I was very lucky to sit down with her for a little bit. And she said this, she said that we live in a world that isn't built for us. And she kind of went on to say, I guess, which is my realization here, is that, that is creativity on steroids, really. Every day, I have to predetermine the things I'm going to do in order to survive the different tasks. Today, I worked from home because I knew I was going to do this. I plan an easier journey so that I'm not more exhausted when I get to the thing. London has a lot of stairs, people. That can be quite exhausting. And all the kind of chronic conditions that come around. Sinead actually has a giant iPhone, and I was like, why have you got a giant iPhone? Because she has small hands. Maybe that's not a thing. Oh God, I'm going to get cancelled now. Maybe that's not a thing you should ask them. But anyway, Sinead was like, it's so I can lock the bathroom door because the lock when you close a toilet cubicle door is like quite high. You wouldn't realize, and so she can jam it shut with the iPhone because it's so big. Anyway, genius. Little bits of creativity that comes out in the everyday of going through this. Now I'm in my full power because TikTok told me, obviously. Yeah. Me after realizing, wait a minute, what does this say? Me after realizing all my potential is stored within the repressed parts of me. And I do believe that is the same for all of you. Life can be shit, but we are asked often to repress those stories in our lives in order to progress and fit in, when actually we need to do the opposite to really realize our own creativity and our own power in our own creativity. And what these mentors, I suppose, all these brilliant women that sort of guided me in varying directions when I was going through hardships or realizing things in my life, is they taught me about radical optimism. And I love this quote from Simon Vickers. He said, "Victory will go to the psychotic optimists, the people who know they'll find a way, even if that way isn't clear, because in the moments where everyone else has their head in their hands, I will always love the people who are laughing." And that really is our role in these businesses, our role in these agencies, our role in the creative department is to do that. And so, ultimately, radical optimism, realizing our own things, resilience comes from the art of reframing. And reframing, lots of the problems in our everyday work in order to get to better solutions all the time. I told you I love raccoon memes. Yes. Please laugh. Please laugh. No, please laugh. It's fine. You can laugh. I am hilarious. It's fine. This is from that Instagram account that says, like, I don't know, do the fucking work is the title slide, and then it scripts it. You all know what I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah. No. I'll find you and I'll tell you what it is. Well, it's that, whatever. Anyway, this feels very poetic, but the world won't change to better suit your desires, but you may change to better suit its demands. In the crucible of your present struggle, the impurities of your past mistakes are quickly burned away. If the future you hope to cast is to come out whole, don't fear the flames, but stoke them higher. This is the transformation you seek. This is what opportunity feels like. You have paid the price. Now you must extract the value. That feels very lofty. But ultimately, I guess this is all to say that all you really need is tenacity and curiosity. And these are two things, again, when we sort of open up our kind of repression and we really accept who we are and own our own truths, that we need to talk about more openly in order to inspire these stories to come out more broadly. You have both in bucket loads, because we all are existing in an industry that wasn't built for us, and we get to change it by speaking out and telling our stories. And so, I am an imposter, it's true. And see how far I'll go. Thank you.